I had sex with Cassie and Sean. He would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard a lot.
Back when Jonathan Audi first spoke out, most people laughed him off. He was labeled unstable, even delusional, just another tabloid footnote lost in the noise of celebrity gossip. But now, as the courtroom revelations surrounding Sean Diddy, combs continue to pour out like a floodgate finally forced open, those old claims don't seem so far-fetched anymore. In fact, they may have been a warning we all ignored. Let's rewind the tape. Jonathan Audi, a former adult film performer, came forward years ago with disturbing allegations, saying he had been one of Diddy's personal sex slaves, alongside singer Cassie. According to Audi, he signed an NDA and later received a hefty $5 million settlement to stay silent. At the time, no one wanted to believe him. The spotlight hit him hardest in 2018 when he was arrested following a bizarre shootout at the Trump National Doral Golf Club in Florida. During the incident, he made shocking statements to police, claiming he had participated in degrading sexual acts with Cassie under Diddy's orders. He said, point blank, he was kept like a sex slave. The media chalked it up to a breakdown. Publicity stunt. Just another unstable figure trying to tie himself to a music mogul for attention. But here's the twist. In the 2025 trial, Cassie herself took the stand and offered details that eerily mirrored Audi's previous claims. Her testimony opened the door to a dark and meticulously hidden world of abuse, manipulation, and control. Suddenly, Audi's so-called ravings have begun to look more like a painful truth buried under money, NDAs, and media spin. And if whispers from inside the courtroom are accurate, it was this convergence, Cassie's bombshell revelations matching Audi's old statements, that finally cracked Diddy's facade. The mogul, long silent behind legal teams and PR shields, is now said to be abandoning his old defenses. Sources claim he's dropped the sanitized swinger lifestyle narrative and is beginning to acknowledge elements of the very behavior he once denied outright. What changed? Maybe the weight of so many stories finally became too heavy. Maybe the receipts, from financial transactions to recorded statements, were impossible to bury this time. Or maybe, just maybe, the past finally caught up. One thing is certain now. Jonathan Audi wasn't just speaking into a void. He was warning the world, and now the world is finally listening.
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever.
In a recent sit-down with News Nation, Jonathan Audi didn't hold back. From behind bars, he alleged that both Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie Ventura personally threatened him during the hush-hush settlement negotiations. According to Audi, his intimate encounters with Cassie weren't consensual hookups. They were orchestrated, requested by Combs himself. The entire setup, he claimed, was part of a disturbing pattern of exploitation. Now let's be real, Audi's credibility is complicated. He's currently locked up in a Florida jail, facing serious charges including the attempted murder of police officers stemming from a separate incident. His legal troubles muddy the waters, no doubt. But even with his checkered background, the disturbing symmetry between his story and Cassie's sworn testimony is impossible to ignore. It's May 2025. The location: a packed federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. The tension? Electric. One of hip-hop's most influential powerhouses, the man who once ruled the charts, fashion lines, and business ventures, is now facing charges that could obliterate his empire. Sean Diddy Combs isn't up against some minor legal hiccup. He's on trial for sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation for the purpose of prostitution. We're talking about federal charges that carry the potential for a life sentence. Not fines, not probation. Life, behind bars. The trial kicked off on May 12, 2025, and from the first gavel strike, the courtroom was flooded with revelations. Federal prosecutors came prepared, launching a calculated and unrelenting attack. Their narrative? That Combs wasn't just an artist or entrepreneur. He was the head of a criminal enterprise cloaked in celebrity, using coercion, fear, and violence to manipulate women into sexual servitude. And at the core of this harrowing case is none other than Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former partner of over a decade. For 11 years, she was silenced under the shadow of fame and fear. Now, she's the government's star witness, a survivor whose testimony is shaking the industry. Cassie walked into that courtroom not just as a witness, but as a woman reclaiming her power. Over 4 consecutive days, from May 13th through the 16th, she sat on that witness stand, composed but visibly bearing the weight of her past. Nearly 20 hours of testimony poured out as she recounted years of physical beatings, emotional torment, and psychological warfare at the hands of the man who once claimed to love her. From 2007 to 2018, she said, her life was a twisted maze of luxury and control, where public glamour masked private horror. Her words weren't just impactful, they were explosive. Her courage, unmatched. And now, with the nation watching, the parallels between her truth and Audi's claims are forming a pattern too loud to ignore. The courtroom isn't just where Diddy fights for his freedom, it's where years of buried secrets are finally clawing their way into the light.
Cassie got on the stand and she detailed everything from the first day, the times that they spent together, her 21st birthday where that was her first time kissing.
Now, I know some of y'all might be thinking, but they looked so happy together on Instagram. Please, let's not get it twisted. Social media is the Ivy League of illusion, a curated stage where truth goes to die and facades thrive, especially when one partner controls the entire narrative. According to Cassie's gut-wrenching testimony, behind those filtered selfies and picture-perfect moments was a deeply disturbing reality, a psychological prison masked by high fashion and flashy events. She told the court that Sean Diddy Combs micromanaged every inch of her life. Her image, her music, her conversations, her movements, all monitored and restricted like she was on parole instead of in a relationship. She wasn't just living under control, she became the control mechanism. Cassie testified that she was routinely tasked with organizing private arrangements for Diddy, which she described as degrading and emotionally shattering. Imagine living life as your own jailer, while your captor plays the role of your mentor and partner. Make it make sense. But the domination didn't stop at scheduling or isolation. The courtroom was introduced to a chilling phrase that's now central to the entire case: freak-offs. So what exactly are freak-offs? Let's just say they make the term private party sound like child's play. According to Cassie's sworn account, these weren't just wild nights. They were orchestrated, drug-laced sessions where she was allegedly forced to perform intimate acts with hired male escorts, while Diddy watched from the sidelines. This didn't happen once or twice. She told the jury these twisted events took place hundreds of times over the span of their relationship. And to endure it, she had to rely on substances just to mentally dissociate from what was happening. That's not intimacy. That's trauma, with choreography. That's psychological warfare with a luxury brand logo stamped on top. She painted a disturbing image of being drugged, violated, and humiliated, at times so broken down that she felt less like a human and more like a prop in someone else's fantasy. One graphic detail recounted in court involved her being sprawled on the floor, mouth open, as 2 men urinated on her. And yes, that was all under Diddy's watch. Now, before anyone jumps into the comments with the tired line, but she stayed, though. Let's shut that down, right now. Cassie made it crystal clear, this wasn't a relationship you, could walk away from. This was entrapment, reinforced by fear, violence, and the looming shadow of Diddy's power and reach. She testified that whenever she hinted at leaving, Diddy would respond with threats or physical force. There were no easy exits, only locked doors and invisible chains. And if you think this is just talk, the prosecution brought receipts. The jury was shown surveillance footage from 2016, cold, silent hotel hallway footage that captured Diddy physically attacking Cassie. This isn't about regretting a toxic love story. This is about surviving a system of abuse engineered by one of the most powerful figures in entertainment, and finally pulling back the curtain on what really went down behind the velvet rope.
In the video, Combs can be seen striking and kicking Ventura as she tried to leave.
The footage that sent shockwaves through the media, first aired by CNN in May 2024, isn't some grainy rumor. It's cold, undeniable evidence. Captured by hotel surveillance, the video shows Sean Diddy Combs chasing Cassie Ventura down a hallway like a predator in pursuit. He grabs her by the neck, slams her to the ground, and then, with a level of cruelty that defies comprehension, kicks her while she's already down. Think about that. A grown man, a multimillionaire mogul, assaulting a woman half his size who's clearly already subdued. That's not power. That's cowardice masquerading as dominance. But brace yourself, the horrors don't stop there. In what may be the most haunting moment of her testimony, Cassie revealed under oath that Combs raped her in 2018, after their relationship had officially ended. The courtroom fell into a silence so thick you could feel it. She broke down repeatedly while recounting the traumatic ordeal, her voice cracking, her composure slipping, but never her resolve. This is not tabloid fodder. This isn't about celebrity gossip. This is a woman publicly reliving her worst nightmares to bring her abuser to justice, knowing the world is watching. Now, Diddy's legal team, led by defense attorney Mark Agnifilo, is trying to flip the narrative. Their angle? That everything Cassie described was consensual. That these so-called freak-offs were just adult fun between consenting swingers. They even pulled out old text messages, where Cassie supposedly appeared enthusiastic, to undermine her credibility. But let's pause and apply basic logic. If someone has psychological power over you, controls your bank account, threatens your safety, and has already shown a willingness to get physical, are you going to text, "Help, I'm being abused"? Or are you going to smile for the camera? Play your part and try to survive? That's like blaming a hostage for blinking in Morse code while pretending everything's fine. It's survival, not consent. The power imbalance here wasn't subtle, it was systemic. And the prosecution made sure the jury understood exactly how deep that control went. Cassie wasn't alone in her claims either. Enter Dawn Richard, known for her time in Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money. On May 16, 2025, she took the witness stand and dropped a bombshell of her own. She had personally witnessed Combs attacking Cassie multiple times. One particularly brutal moment took place in a Los Angeles hotel in 2009. Dawn's account wasn't just another voice. It was a corroboration, proof that this wasn't a one-time I lost my temper moment. It was a pattern, a blueprint, of abuse. Then there's the male escort, a key witness whose testimony stunned the courtroom. He confirmed he was paid to have sexual relations with Cassie, while Diddy observed. That revelation ripped the lid off the freak-off allegations and added yet another piece of chilling verification to Cassie's story. Special Agent Yassine Binda, one of the federal agents involved in Combs' September 2024 arrest at a Midtown Manhattan hotel, testified about what they found at the scene: $9,000 in cash, controlled substances, and, yes, baby oil and other intimate supplies. All items Cassie had previously described as standard props during these secret gatherings. Coincidence? Hardly. It sounded more like a fully stocked trauma chamber. Cassie settled a civil lawsuit against Combs in 2023 for a whopping $20 million. That settlement became public knowledge during her testimony. Jonathan Audi, another accuser, claims he got $5 million in hush money after signing an NDA. Diddy's legal team is spinning these payouts as signs of opportunism, suggesting Cassie and others are just chasing the bag. If you didn't do anything wrong, why are you wiring tens of millions to make people shut up? That's like someone handing you a briefcase of cash and saying, "Don't tell anyone I'm innocent." It doesn't pass the smell test, and the hush money trail doesn't end there. Cassie also received a $10 million settlement from the Intercontinental Hotel, where the now infamous 2016 assault took place, the same hotel where surveillance footage shows her being violently attacked as security just stood by. Apparently, in some luxury chains, concierge service includes ignoring violence in your hallways. One of the most heartbreaking revelations came when Cassie described the toll this trauma has taken on her mental health. She revealed that she's currently undergoing EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, a specialized form of therapy used to treat people with severe PTSD. This isn't someone trying to finesse the system. This is a woman fighting for normalcy after enduring years of systematic exploitation. According to the court, they were highly organized, drug-laced sex parties that allegedly spanned across states and even international borders. Federal, Prosecutors say these weren't isolated events. They were part of a trafficking operation. The logistics, the people involved, the substances, and the recordings, everything was orchestrated, down to the finest detail. Cassie described how Diddy played director at these events, barking orders, telling people what to do, where to stand, who to touch. It was a twisted production, filmed for private pleasure, and executed with military-like precision. She wasn't living in a home. She was surviving on a set built on control, fear, and submission. And now, the world is finally being forced to watch the replay, unfiltered, unedited, and undeniable.
She says that, it was very well choreographed. It was almost, when she was describing it, I was like, it sounds like he was shooting a music video.
Executive producer.
Now let's talk about the cameras, because this is where things take a darker, almost cinematic turn. Reports have surfaced alleging that Sean Diddy Combs didn't just host these now infamous freak-offs. He filmed them. Not for art, not for personal memories, but allegedly to weaponize the footage as blackmail. While it's still unclear whether these claims have been officially confirmed in court, the implications are chilling. Think about it. You're a rising singer, maybe a young actor hoping to break into the industry, and suddenly you find yourself in a compromised situation with a camera pointed at you, directed by a man with more money and influence than you could ever hope to match. If that footage falls into the wrong hands, your career, your life, could be destroyed with a single leak. That's not just control, that's psychological imprisonment. The allegations don't stop at manipulation. Federal. Prosecutors have alleged a deeply disturbing pattern of chemical coercion. We're not talking about a few recreational hits here and there. The cocktail of narcotics reportedly used included cocaine, oxycodone, methamphetamine, ketamine, substances that, when mixed and misused, can alter a person's ability to think, resist, or even remain conscious. This wasn't a party, it was a chemically engineered cage. Victims were allegedly kept pliable, disoriented, and docile. That's not seduction or sedition. That's sedation for submission. And if you think this is all hearsay, consider what was physically seized during the March 2024 federal raids on Combs's properties. Authorities didn't just walk away with a few items. They uncovered over 1,000 ml bottles of lubricant and baby oil. Yes, 1,000. You don't stock that much unless you're preparing for production, not personal recreation. Prosecutors have directly tied these items to Cassie Ventura's previous testimonies, where she described their routine presence at these so-called freak-off sessions. That's not a stash. That's a supply chain. Now, of course, Combs's legal team is trying to cast all of this as one big consensual swingers playground. They're waving around explicit text messages allegedly sent by Cassie, suggesting she was an enthusiastic participant. But let's break that down. Consent isn't meaningful when it's coerced. If your housing, finances, career, and physical safety all depend on the whims of one man who's already demonstrated he's willing to be violent, then your yes is not consent. It's survival. That's like saying someone agreed to jump off a building when someone already pushed them to the edge, and Cassie isn't the only one whose voice is echoing through the courtroom. The federal indictment lists multiple survivors under pseudonyms, each representing another corner of a vast, shadowy pattern. Victim 1 is presumed to be Cassie. Victim 2 is another woman who prosecutors claim was coerced into commercial sexual activity. Victim 3's situation is murky, with her status currently unknown and reports from May 2025 hinting that she may have gone missing. Her absence has sparked speculation and prompted Diddy's defense team to consider motions for mistrial or delay, claiming that her missing testimony weakens the government's case. Victim 4 was named in a January 2025 superseding indictment. Victim 5 has recently entered the fold, expected to step in if Victim 3 remains unaccounted for. Prosecutors have made clear that these women weren't just caught in isolated moments. They were part of a pattern that suggests organized exploitation. One witness disappearance may sound like a coincidence, but in a case where intimidation and fear are alleged tactics, the stakes feel far more calculated. As of April 2025, Combs is facing a tidal wave of legal firepower over Bakr Qadi 60 active civil lawsuits. These aren't just headline-chasing claims, they're part of a sprawling legal offensive, spearheaded by attorneys like Tony Busby and the AVA Law Group. In fact, Busby announced his intention to file up to 120 lawsuits under New York's Adult Survivors Act and the Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Act. These suits allege a staggering array of abuse, ranging from sexual assault to drugging, even involving minors. Busby's team reportedly vetted over 15,000 claims, selecting 120 credible cases involving both male and female accusers, 60 of each. Among the most devastating claims are those involving children. A 9-year-old boy, allegedly assaulted during a Bad Boy Records audition, a 13-year-old girl, who was reportedly drugged and violated at a 2000 VMA after-party, and others as young as 14 and 15. These weren't just children in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were aspiring artists, dreamers, lured into situations where the promise of fame quickly turned into a nightmare. According to compiled legal filings and internal data, at least 81 individuals have come forward publicly or under alias, 43 women, 38 men, with 17 minors among them. At least 64 reported being drugged or served alcohol laced with unknown substances. At least 41 say they were assaulted at events often packed with celebrities and high-level insiders. And just when you think it can't get worse, there are reportedly over 400 more cases still under legal review. That's not a scandal. That's a systemic failure of accountability. As of May 17, 2025, we're only on a day 5 tauna of what is expected to be an 8 to 10-week trial in Manhattan Federal Court, with Judge Aaron Subramanian presiding. The courtroom has already heard testimony from Cassie Ventura, who spent 4 grueling days on the stand. Dawn Richard of Danity Kane followed, recounting physical abuse she personally witnessed. A male escort testified about being paid to participate in sexual acts with Cassie, allegedly under Combs's direction. A hotel security manager admitted to seeing violent incidents that were never reported. A federal agent provided damning details from the arrest. Coming up, Cassie's former best friend, Carrie Morgan, and her mother are both slated to testify. Prosecutors are strategically assembling a web of testimonies, each one reinforcing another, like bricks laid into a dam to stop a flood of denial. One witness, known only as Mia, is expected to provide deeply personal testimony about additional abuse. Her attorney says she is terrified to testify. And who could blame her? Standing up against someone with deep pockets and decades of influence isn't just brave, it's dangerous. Yet even now, rumors of ivory tampering furor have begun to swirl. A post on X, formerly Twitter, dated May 7, 2025, claims Diddy attempted to sway jurors, though this remains unverified and has not been confirmed by mainstream media. Still, the court is watching closely. The stakes couldn't be higher. Diddy faces multiple felony charges that, if convicted, could result in life in prison. The prosecution alleges he operated what was essentially a criminal network, one that thrived on violence, coercion, and manipulation for over 2 decades. The defense, meanwhile, continues to frame the narrative as a twisted love story gone wrong, a lifestyle misunderstood, not criminalized. They're leaning hard into the idea that this was all consensual, a messy breakup painted as abuse. But that's the legal equivalent of duct taping a dam and hoping it holds. You can't explain away patterns of abuse by calling it passion. You can't label chemical coercion as foreplay, and you certainly can't silence a generation of survivors by calling it consensual if their yes was fueled by fear. As the trial continues, the nation and the world watches, not just to see if one man is convicted, but to determine if the system still works when the powerful are finally made to answer for their actions. The courtroom is more than just a battleground for facts and legal arguments. It's become a mirror held up to society. Commentators like former prosecutor Lonnie Cum see this high-stakes trial not just as a legal proceeding, but as a cultural reckoning. "This case is about more than one man," she remarked. "It's a litmus test for how serious we are about confronting sexual abuse, regardless of fame, fortune, or race." And when that man is Sean Diddy Combs, a titan of black culture, music, and business, the implications run deep. He wasn't just a rapper. He was a mogul, a symbol, a movement. And now he's a defendant, facing a series of explosive accusations that threaten to undo everything he built. The dramatic descent began with a quiet arrest in Brooklyn in September 2024. Since then, Combs has remained behind bars, denied bail, in a move that shocked even those familiar with high-profile cases. For a man whose wealth once afforded him untouchable status, the message was deafening. Not even Diddy money could buy his way out. Brands severed ties. Streaming services purged his music, and public opinion turned colder by the hour. Once hailed as Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, and more recently, Love, he's now simply the accused. Karma? Maybe. But most call it long overdue accountability. It raises the bigger question. How did we get here? For decades, whispers of inappropriate behavior followed Combs, yet he remained protected by a wall of silence. The industry, critics, say enabled him, rewarding him with Grammys and red carpet appearances while allegations piled up in the shadows. Now, the trial has cracked that wall wide open, with victims stepping forward and federal agencies setting up dedicated tip lines. For sex trafficking information, it's clear this isn't an isolated case. It's systemic. And the cultural immunity powerful entertainers once enjoyed? It's eroding fast. Inside Brooklyn's infamous Metropolitan Detention Center, Combs lives a life no wealth could have prepared him for. Gone are the tailored suits, private jets, and mornings spent in penthouse spas. Today, he wakes up in a 6x9 cell under fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights. This mounting dread has reached even his closest confidants. Among the most shaken is Ashton Kutcher, a longtime friend of Diddy's who now reportedly feels blindsided and betrayed. Their friendship, once anchored in nearly 2 decades of private moments, shared ventures, and mutual admiration, is now riddled with doubt. Kutcher, sources say, feels manipulated and deceived, haunted by the thought that his name could be weaponized if Diddy chooses self-preservation over silence. It's a familiar pain for Kutcher, who previously watched his reputation get entangled in the controversy surrounding former co-star Danny Masterson. That episode scarred his public image, and now, facing the specter of Diddy's legal fallout, he's bracing for another blow. Insiders say Kutcher has confided only in his wife, Mila Kunis, keeping his guard up and his circle tighter than ever. But Kutcher isn't alone in this quiet panic. Once loyal supporters of Diddy, from red carpet allies to collaborators in music and business, are now conspicuously absent. Jay-Z, Justin Bieber, Naomi Campbell, each has distanced themselves, choosing silence over solidarity. PR experts suggest this is no coincidence. Strategically cutting ties, even subtly, helps insulate them from potential legal splashback or reputational damage. The silence is deafening, and it signals a shift. Diddy is becoming radioactive. Behind closed doors, anxiety is spreading. Those once in Diddy's orbit are reportedly gripped with unease about what he might reveal if pushed to the edge. Lawyers, determined to find any leverage, are scrutinizing his years of connections, industry parties, business dealings, off-the-record favors. Some fear Diddy could implicate others, not out of vengeance, but out of sheer desperation to save himself. For Kutcher, the paranoia is personal. He knows how quickly association can turn into implication, especially when the allegations are murky and the public is hungry for scapegoats. Though he insists he's innocent of any wrongdoing, the actor is deeply disturbed by what Diddy could potentially reveal. The situation has left many in Hollywood grappling with an impossible question. Is remaining silent enough, or is it time to proactively denounce a former friend before their name appears in court documents or headlines? The optics of past camaraderie, photos, interviews, old collaborations, are now liabilities. Diddy's connections were once a badge of honor. His influence extended far beyond hip-hop. John Legend, Mary J. Blige, Mark Wahlberg, even British royalty like Prince Harry had appeared at his parties or crossed professional paths. But under the harsh spotlight of federal scrutiny, these relationships are now red flags. With every new development, the risk of collateral damage grows. Crisis PR strategist Evan Neerman, CEO of Red Banyan, says the silence from Diddy's famous friends isn't just about avoiding bad press, it's a legal buffer. Staying quiet makes it harder for prosecutors to link them to anything actionable. In this climate, saying nothing is often safer than saying the wrong thing. Yet Ashton Kutcher's position is uniquely painful. Unlike others who were casual associates, Kutcher and Diddy had a real bond, watching sports together, attending each other's family events, building what seemed to be genuine trust. But that trust is now shattered. After seeing troubling evidence and hearing serious claims, Kutcher and Kunis are said to be reevaluating everything they thought they knew about the man they once admired. Meanwhile, other power couples are also caught in the crossfire. Jay-Z and Beyoncé, though not implicated in any wrongdoing, have come under renewed scrutiny simply because of their long-standing ties to Diddy. Jay-Z, in particular, is reportedly livid over being dragged into what he views as someone else's chaos. Sources close to the mogul say his frustration reached a boiling point when UK journalist Piers Morgan aired an interview with controversial singer Jaguar Wright. During the broadcast, Wright shockingly labeled Jay-Z a monster, lumping him into the same category as Diddy and suggesting a broader conspiracy of abuse in the entertainment industry. The accusations, baseless as they were, ignited a firestorm. Jay-Z's legal team, led by powerhouse attorney Alex Spiro, immediately responded, threatening legal action and demanding a full retraction. Morgan ultimately issued an apology, withdrawing the claims. But for Jay-Z, the damage was already done. His message was clear. Anyone trying to entangle him in Diddy's downfall would be met with swift, aggressive legal retaliation. As if that weren't enough, prominent attorney Tony Busby, representing victims in civil suits against Diddy, recently hinted that new defendants may soon be named. That chilling possibility sent shockwaves through the industry, as longtime Diddy collaborators began wondering, am I next? Initially, Jay-Z and Beyoncé believed the best course was to stay silent and above the fray. But the viral spread of rumors, especially bizarre ones targeting Beyoncé, like conspiracy theories suggesting artists must publicly thank her at award shows or risk sabotage, changed their calculus. The Carters are now reportedly in full damage control mode, ready to protect their brand at any cost. While Jay-Z battles unfounded allegations, Diddy's reality is far grimmer. His once unshakable empire is fracturing, and whispers suggest his only way out might involve naming names. Sources say Diddy's family is increasingly at risk, especially his son Christian Combs, known to fans as King. Just days after, attending his father's court hearing, King appeared in a viral nightclub video, partying as if nothing had changed. With drink in hand and Raven Tracy by his side, the optics were disastrous. Critics slammed him for being tone-deaf, disrespectful, and out of touch with the gravity of the situation. Rather than lay low, King doubled down. He released a diss track titled Pick a Side, aimed at none other than 50 Cent, Diddy's longtime adversary. The lyrics were defiant. Police raid the crib like they think we sellin' crack, but we out here sellin' tracks. It was a bold move, but one that could make things worse. With every lyric and every move, King risks drawing more heat, not just for himself, but for his embattled father. As federal agents dig deeper and Diddy's legal team searches for bargaining, Chips, no one in his inner circle is safe. The threat of Diddy flipping, naming names, exposing secrets, burning bridges, is more than speculative. For many, it's the nightmare that's already begun. But King didn't stop there. He fired a direct lyrical missile at 50 Cent, rapping, "Pop's been hated on by many men, and that's fine. Let him try to block these M's, they only end up dying trying." It was a bold, public show of defiance, an attempt to portray unshakable loyalty to his father. Yet instead of admiration, King's move only escalated an already volatile situation. Unsurprisingly, 50 Cent didn't hold back. He clapped back, instantly on Instagram, mocking King with biting sarcasm. "Why would you say something like that when the feds are on your tail? You stupid or just plain dumb?" The message was sharp, pointing not just at King's naivety, but at the staggering recklessness of aligning himself so closely with a father teetering on the edge of a federal disaster. The drama surrounding King's diss track didn't emerge in a vacuum. It came amid swirling legal troubles that include his own name being entangled in one of the recent lawsuits targeting Diddy. Though the details remain murky, what's clear is that King isn't just a spectator in his father's unraveling empire, he's standing at the front lines. And the public's perception of him is rapidly shifting. In one moment, King appears to be a loyal son standing tall in the shadow of a storm. In the next, he's a reckless figure dancing at nightclubs, dropping incendiary bars, and behaving as if his last name isn't linked to a federal investigation. His defiant stance may rally fans of loyalty, but to many watching, it reeks of denial and immaturity. Dangerous traits when prosecutors are circling like vultures.